Hey everybody, welcome back to the Consumer Warrior Project. On today's video, I want to talk about college kids and credit cards, and specifically why you should avoid having a credit card while you are in college. It's not a good idea. They are marketing these things heavily towards college kids. That's nothing new. They've been doing that since I was in college. And some of the numbers that have come out recently in some studies are pretty shocking as far as the amount of credit cards that college kids have, the amount of debt that they're having, that they're putting on those cards, and how little they actually know about the whole credit card process and what it takes to actually get out of debt. I'm John Skiba, and I am the founder of the Consumer Warrior Project. I'm also a consumer protection attorney in the state of Arizona, and I'm a Ramsey Solutions Master Financial Coach, where I help people to get and stay out of debt. So, I've been thinking a lot about going to college because I have 6 children, and my oldest is getting ready to graduate from high school and leave the nest, going to go off to college across the country. And, I'm starting to think back of when I went to college and some of the financial mistakes that I made while I was there, which were many, and what I can do and what I can teach my son as he's heading out so that he doesn't make some of those same mistakes. I remember back when I went to college, when you first get there, there's all the credit card companies are there, marketing. They're giving out the t-shirts, they're giving out the pizzas, and wanting you just to fill out an application. You're not doing anything, just fill out the application, get a free t-shirt, and then a few weeks later, they get the credit card in the mail, and usually they have low balances. It's like a $500 balance, and it all kind of starts snowballing and steamrolling, and it turns into a big nightmare. Well, I was the same thing, except I didn't sign up for a specific credit card. I remember I went down to the local bank and opened up a checking account. And when I opened up the checking account, they asked me if I wanted overdraft protection. And being an 18-year-old kid, I was like, sure. If you're offering it, I'll take it. And so they gave me a $500 overdraft protection on my checking account. Well, so as you probably know where this story's going, it was just a matter of a couple weeks or months, and I had to rack that thing up and maxed it out completely to $500. I think they even extended it a little bit after that, so it was like $600 or $700. And I remember it was around probably Thanksgiving time. My parents came up to visit, and I talked to them about this. I said, look, I have this big overdraft debt now that I'm trying to take care of. And my dad was furious. He was furious at 2 people. One, he's furious at me for making such a stupid decision, but he was also really mad at the bank. And I remember he walked down to the bank and I went and talked to the people there, and he said, look, you gave my son this overdraft, essentially gave my son this credit card, and you knew he didn't have a job, that he had no way of paying back these debts. And he said, so who do you think is going to be left holding the bag on this? He's like, it's me who's going to end up doing it. So I think he did pay it off. And I think I ended up having to pay him back over time. But this is a common thing where people go to college. They're not really financially savvy or have any really background at all in finances and personal financial management. And they make mistakes because the credit card people, they want to get in, and they want to get in early when it comes to those kids going into college. I can tell you something that's interesting in my bankruptcy practice. As part of the process, we pull credit reports and we go through all the credit cards and things like that are there. And then as we go through and they're signing off on the paperwork to submit everything to the court, a lot of people will tell me, can we just leave that one credit card out? They were my first credit card, and they've always been so good to me. And I've heard that they've always been so good to me so many times. And they want to exclude it. The answer is no, you can't exclude certain debts from bankruptcy. But 2, it's interesting how there's this like almost emotional relationship with that first credit card. The first people that took a chance on me, and they don't realize that this is just a corporation. And if you miss a couple of payments, they are going to become your worst nightmare. In just a matter of months. They're going to file lawsuits. They're going to garnish your wages, cause you all kinds of grief. So the best thing to avoid is avoid getting the credit cards all together. Let me give you some quick statistics. This is an article I read recently from the National Law Review. It's written by a guy named Robert Park, and the title of the article was Credit Card Marketing Geared Towards Students and the Policies to Address the Dilemma. Can More Be Done? But he cites some interesting studies in there. He found that 91% of college students have a credit card by the final year of college. And by the time they graduate, that 56% of college students have 4 credit cards. So they're not just messing around with some $500 overdraft like I ended up with, but they have 4 cards by the time they're done with college. Some of the other interesting things are that 9.4% of the people, the college students, do not pay off, they do pay off their balances each month. So 9% of the college students pay off their balance each month. So that, what about the other 91%? And that's the thought process. You take the card out and you're thinking, it's $500, or I'll make a charge here, charge there, and I'll pay it off. I'll pay it off every month. And clearly 91% of people do not do that who are in college. The other one that's a little bit frightening, and by a little bit I mean a lot, is that 14.6% of college students do not even know what the interest rate is on their credit card. So they're spending, they're not paying it back on a monthly basis, and they have no idea what kind of gouging is going on to their bank accounts. So that's something that, my wife and I are talking and trying to teach some of these things to my son as he's getting ready to leave the house and go out on his own, is to avoid these things like the plague. They will follow you around for a long, long time if you don't get them paid off quick. So it's just better not to even go down that road. Look for different scholarships online. You could work, you could have a job. That's a possibility that a lot of people don't even consider nowadays, which is kind of interesting. So that's like I said, my general advice to people, particularly when I'm working with coaching clients, is if they're getting ready to go, don't send them with a credit card unless you're going to be the one who's going to end up paying it. But it's just better if everybody stays out of debt. Don't send the credit cards with them. Send them a debit card. Tell them they might have to do some, get a part-time job, something like that, to get themselves through without having a whole lot of debt. And if you can get out of college without all the debt, life's good. You can start making some money and you're not paying it back to all these dang credit cards and student loans that everybody else has as they get done with college. So that's going to do it at this episode of the podcast. Appreciate you checking into the podcast and on the videos over at YouTube, and I will catch you next time.